everybody, this is Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert, a NASCAR podcast. Another great weekend of racing, this time in the Irish Hills of Michigan for the annual trip to Michigan International Speedway. ARCA, Truck Series, and Cup would all be in action throughout the weekend. Storylines: ARCA would get the party going late Friday afternoon after Austin Green walked away with the win at the last ARCA race in Charlotte. Would any of the heavy hitter regulars of Lawless Allen or Brandon Queen take the win? Or would truck drivers of Gio Ruggiero and Corey Heim take the win as they both dropped down for ARCA? Truck Series: after Raja Carruth took the win in Nashville, could Corey Heim return to his winning ways? Or would Corey LaJoie, Ross Chastain, or Carson Hocevar take the win? Cup Series: can last week's winner, Ryan Blaney, keep his momentum going? Or could last year's winner in Michigan, Tyler Reddick, go back-to-back? Interviews with Truck Series driver Dawson Sutton and full-time Cup Series driver AJ Allmendinger. Plus discussions with Dave, Fast Davey's bets, predictions for Mexico, and so much more on this episode of Splash of Gas. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Now for the ARCA recap. ARCA would be the first race of the weekend, getting the show going on Friday afternoon. Brandon Butterbean Queen would be on the pole, and boy would we see a lot of Queen. Corey Heim would be back in the ARCA seat, having to fill in for Jake Finch, who had missed the race due to an illness. In the end, Queen would withstand the battles from Heim and Ruggiero. The final laps would not be easy for Queen, though, and they included contact with Gio Ruggiero on the final restart. But in the end, it was Queen again, pumped up in victory lane. Congrats to Brandon and that entire 28 team. Now for trivia time. This week's question is: who won the first NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway in June of 1969? Answer coming at the end. Now we bring on our first guest of the show, driver of the 26 in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, contender for Sunoco Rookie of the Year, Dawson Sutton. Had Dawson on the show earlier this year when we were talking to him before the Clyde Hart Memorial at New Smyrna. Here's what the young driver had to say. Next guest we bring onto the show is driver of the 26 truck of the NASCAR Truck Series, Dawson Sutton. Thanks for joining the show again, Dawson.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Last time we were talking was on the front stretch at New Smyrna before the Clyde Hart Memorial. A lot has happened since then. You run that truck last year, but this is your first full-time season, plus your late model schedule. How has it been continuing to work with crew chief Chad Kendrick and Rackley War Racing?
Yeah, it's been, like you said, it's my first full year in the truck season, and then it's my second year running a full season of ASA Stars, the national tour. So it's been a really good overall past 2 years. I started racing 3.5 years ago, and to come this far, and then ran the full season last year in the late model, the super late model, and had a lot of success. Won a good chunk of races in the super and pro late model, and to go full time this year. It's been a really up and down year in the truck. Started out at Daytona, and it's been a good learning experience, especially to get to some of these bigger tracks. The super speedways and just the 2 mile and a half racetracks where it's so aero dependent and everything's so much so new to me compared to the late model. I'm a short track guy at the end of the day, and I love racing late models, going back and having fun there. But it's been a really up and down year in the truck, and like you said, getting to during my first full season, it's been pretty cool, and to almost finish 11th last week, it was pretty exciting.
Awesome. Thank you for touching on that. Big fan of the ASA All-Star Tour. You're currently third in the standings after 5 races. Some really talented drivers in that series. How has racing in that series the last 2 years helped you and continues to help you develop as a driver?
Yeah, 100%. It's a super competitive series, like you said, and it's super competitive. And I feel like every driver in there is the best. The best you can really compete against, especially in the short track level and super late model level by itself. And like you said, going to all those racetracks, especially like New Smyrna for the Clyde Hart, and there's a lot more other big ones. All American 400 at the end of the year, we came really close to winning that one last year, and I think we led 260 laps or something. But we've had really good runs in that tour last year and this year as well. Had a really strong running at Newport. I think it's 2 weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to continue racing that and getting to Madison and Slinger next weekend for the next ones.
Awesome. Always love being at the short track, watching you guys. At the beginning of May, you get your best finish of the season so far, coming in 9th in Texas. How are you feeling once the checkered flag waved, getting your first top 10 of the season?
Yeah, it felt good. At the end of the day, I just want to be really really competitive, and my goal is to win races and have really consistent finishes as well. But luckily, we've got a few good runs and a lot of bad luck as well. But I feel like everything's starting to click a lot better now, and I feel like I just at the end of the day, it's experience. Like I said, and getting to the bigger tracks and even the short tracks. Trucks completely different than a late model. Everything's different. The racing's different. The drivers are different. It's super competitive as well, and I feel like it takes everything out of you to go do your best. And I'm lucky enough that I get to do it full time. And like you said, I'm just excited to continue the rest of the season and just have fun.
Heck yeah. Appreciate you going over that. Last weekend, you did mention Nashville. That's a home track for your team and you, both being from Tennessee. You were 18th fastest in the practice. Qualifying would be rained out, so you'd be starting 29th. How was the truck feeling going into the race?
Yeah, I was overall pretty happy with it. Our short run speed was not exactly what we wanted, but I feel like just to make laps. I think 10 laps in, I started to figure it out, and I felt really excited or really happy with it on the long run. I knew we were going to be a little bit tight starting out, but I feel like we started the race. I didn't want to start 29th at all, but to move up through through the race the whole time, and I feel like we passed a lot of trucks, and I feel like I learned a ton, especially moving forward to the next few races. I'm looking forward to having a little bit more confidence after that run, and I feel like I'm excited to continue moving on to these new tracks for me. And it was a good run overall, and I feel like we did a really good job passing trucks in the race as well.
Awesome. Sounds like great experience for you, too, you can learn from.
Yeah, for sure.
You start stage 1 18th, stage 2 10th, and finishing 11th. How were you able to keep those spots in the second stage, and how did you keep that track position in the third stage?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I feel like we were a little bit tight, especially in the race, and dirty air as well. Once we got the farther back we were, the tighter we were. Got a little bit more clean air, moving forward, like you said, top 10 at stage 2. And I feel like the farther we got forward, the better the truck handled and the better I was overall as a driver. And I feel like we did a good job, executing track position and, our pit strategies. And I feel like, Chad did an awesome job, and our pit crew did a great job as well. And that's the thing about the truck series. It really just takes everything has to be perfect. And, it's racing in general, but pit stops and restarts are so important, especially in the truck. And luckily, everything went pretty smoothly. And, hopefully continue having that good luck. And I'm looking forward to Michigan.
Yeah, some good momentum going into Michigan. This will be your first time racing there in the trucks. Seems like they're really hauling the mail at that 2 mile oval. What do you think the track will be like, and what do you expect the racing to be like?
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be different. It's very very racy, especially watching the race from 2020 there. That they like. I think that was the last time trucks went, but it's gonna be really racy. It's gonna be a lot of pushing and It's gonna be a lot of air as well. Just because you can move around so much and the track is so wide. So it's definitely going to put on a good show for the fans. I'm looking forward to it, just because it's big, and like you said, it's really fast. It's probably the fastest place we go to. Talladega and Daytona as well, but it's definitely really fast, and it puts on a good show. And I'm looking forward to just hopefully going out and having a strong run. I think we're gonna be really good, and I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Yeah. Can't wait to watch you on Saturday, being on Fox as well. So thank you so much for the time, Dawson, again. And hopefully we'll talk to you before the end of the season. Best of luck this weekend at Michigan, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Have a good one.
You too.
Thankful for Dawson's time, and boy, was he right. They would put on a great show for the fans, the Truck Series would, in Michigan. Here's the Truck Series recap. They would get underway shortly after 12 p.m. on Saturday out there in Michigan. News from the practice was that Ben Rhodes would scrub the wall and go into the garage, but he would qualify 9th. Tanner Gray was the fastest in practice. Luke Fenhaus would be the fastest at qualifying and be on the pole, followed by Carson Hocevar, as the Michigan native would be back in the truck seat, making up the front row. Once the green flag would drop, Fenhaus would get the jump, but by the second lap, Carson Hocevar would take the lead. Connor Mozak would get past Luke Stenhouse and settle into the second spot. Early, last week's winner, Raja Karuth, would have a tire go down and have to pit. The race would still stay green. Hocevar and Mozak would take turns in the front spot, with Hocevar prevailing. Lap 8, Corey Heim would work his way up to the second spot, passing Connor Mozak. Heim would be hot on the tails of Hocevar as the laps of the first stage would count down, and Heim would make the pass on Hocevar on the last lap of the first stage, winning it. Corey Heim and Connor Mozak restart the front row for the second stage. Heim would take the lead. Hocevar would work his way to second. After qualifying in the back, Ross Chastain would work his way up to the 8th position early in stage 2. With 20 laps to go in the middle stage, Hocevar would take the lead from Heim. But as the laps counted down in stage 2, Heim would repave the favor and go back to the front spot. The entire stage would stay green and be won by Heim. Corey Heim and Caden Honeycutt would restart on the front row for the final stage. After restarting on the second row, Carson Hocevar would jump to the lead, followed by Heim. First yellow for incident would come with 55 laps to go for a spinning Jack Wood. On the following restart, the yellow would fly again for a wreck involving Matt Mills and Raja Karuth. Hocevar and Honeycutt on the restart. Hocevar would get the jump, and Ross Chastain would fall into second. And it wouldn't last long as the third yellow of the stage would fly, this time for an incident involving Morgan Bard and Nathan Bird. The leaders would pit during the yellow. The trucks that pitted on the last yellow would restart up front. Before that could happen, a long red flag would come out to make repairs for the wall from the last wreck. On the following restart, it would be Grant Enfinger and Matt Crafton with 36 to go. Enfinger would jump out to the lead. Gio Ruggiero would move into second. 20 laps to go. Enfinger would still be in the lead, now followed by Lane Riggs and Ross Chastain in third. There would be a fierce battle between those three, going 3 wide at points. 12 to go. Ross would get past Enfinger for the lead, but it wouldn't last long as Carson Hocevar, with a great run, would get past Chastain. With contact, somehow Ross saved the truck, but the yellow would fly a lap later for a tire carcass. Hocevar would have to pit from the lead under yellow as his left rear went down from the contact with Chastain. Ruggiero and Chastain would restart on the front row with 5 laps to go. Tanner Gray and Corey Heim would be on the second row. What would happen? All heck would break loose. That's what happened. On the restart, Gray would push Ross too much, sending him spinning through the field, collecting Ruggiero, Heim, Gray, Hemrick, and a half dozen more. This will push the race into overtime. Corey LaJoie and our guest driver this week, Dawson Sutton, would be on the front row for the restart. Daniel Hemrick and Frankie Muniz would be on the second row. What would the overtime bring? Muniz would miss a shift on the restart, slowing the inside lane, putting LaJoie to the lead. But they wouldn't make it a lap. Daniel Hemrick would have a tire go down, putting him into the wall, bringing out the yellow, putting the race into a second overtime. LaJoie and Jake Garcia would be on the front row, with Dawson Sutton and Grant Enfinger on the second row. Enfinger would clear LaJoie going into turn 1, but a wreck in the back of the field involving Matt Mills, Tony Breitinger, and Jack Wood would put the race into a third overtime. On the past restart, Carson Hocevar would be given a restart violation. Grant Enfinger and Stuart Friesen would be on the front row, Corey LaJoie and Luke Fenhouse on the second row. After being door-to-door with Enfinger, Stuart Friesen would be up front 1 lap to go. Friesen would hold off Enfinger and take the win. What a crazy finish to the race. That was wild. Great execution by Friesen at the end. This will shake up the playoff standings for sure. Stuart would be climbing the fences at Michigan after a marathon of a race with 3 overtimes. Congratulations to Stuart and team. Now for the Cup Series recap. Cup Series would finish the weekend on Sunday afternoon. Chase Briscoe would be on the pole, followed by Kyle Busch after qualifying. Once the green flag would drop, Briscoe would clear Busch as Kyle fades to 4th. Briscoe would take control of the race on the first lap. William Byron would slide into the second position. Early in the stage, Byron would eventually be able to reel in Briscoe and take the lead. Chris Buescher would then get past Briscoe and take control of second. Buescher would be trying to get to Byron. In the closing laps of the first stage, Chris Buescher would take the lead. Buescher will go on to win Stage 1. Ryan Blaney and Denny Hamlin would restart the pack for the second stage after they were the fastest leaving pit road between the stage break pit stops. Blaney would jump to the lead. With a great run, Chase Elliott would get past Hamlin and fall into the second spot. Laps later, Elliott would get past Blaney and the 9 of Chase Elliott would be up front. On lap 60, the first yellow for incident would fly for Noah Gragson and John Hunter Nemechek as they both go spinning. Elliott and Blaney restart. Chase would get the jump and go back to the lead. But they wouldn't last long. 4-wide racing would end with a hard crash by Alex Bowman, also collecting Daniel Suarez, Cole Custer, and Chase Briscoe. Truly a hard crash. Bowman's rear tires came off the ground as he hit the wall. Glad he was okay. The red flag would have to come out for the cleanup. The following restart would be Chase Elliott and Christopher Bell. Elliott would get the jump and again be leading. Another yellow on lap 73, again for a spinning John Hunter Nemechek. Chase Elliott would have a pit road penalty and start from the back. William Byron and Bell on the restart. Byron takes the lead. Bell in second with Tyler Reddick and Brad Keselowski running third and fourth. 14 laps to go in the second stage. Bell would pit under green. Reddick would take the second spot with Byron still leading. 3 laps later, Ryan Blaney would bring out the yellow as he goes spinning. Austin Cindric and Chase Briscoe restart up front. Cindric would take the lead, but have Tyler Reddick and William Byron hot on his tails. On the final lap of the second stage, Byron, Cindric, and Carson Hocevar would all be battling for the lead, making for an exciting finish. Byron would go on to win Stage 2, followed by Cindric and Hocevar. William Byron and Carson Hocevar restart for the final stage. William would get the jump, followed by Carson. Couple laps in, Hamlin would get past Reddick for the third spot. With 54 to go, the 7th yellow of the day would fly, this time for Todd Gilliland, hitting the wall. Carson Hocevar and Zane Smith restart. Hocevar would get great drive off turn 4 and take control of the lead. Kyle Larson would be in second, followed by Byron and Buescher. 46 to go, Byron would get the second, passing Larson. 40 to go, Hocevar would still be up front with Byron on his heels. Hocevar's crew chief told them that they might be short on fuel. The top 3 of Hocevar, Byron, and Larson are all saving fuel. Whose strategy will pay off? 19 to go while leading. Heartbreak for Hocevar, who had a tire go down and is forced to pit, but the race still stays green. Byron takes the lead with Larson and Ty Gibbs in second and third. That ends the great run that Carson Hocevar was having. 15 to go, Hamlin will get the second while others are saving. 10 to go, Byron leading, followed by Hamlin hot on his bumper. Then Ty Gibbs and Larson in third and fourth. As the laps counted down, Hamlin would be trying to calculate his pass. Could he make it happen? 5 to go, Hamlin and Byron would be door to door, followed by Gibbs and Chris Buescher. 4 to go, Hamlin would clear Byron for the top spot. 3 to go, Buescher would get past Ty Gibbs for third. Final lap, Hamlin would have over a second lead over Buescher as Byron runs out of fuel. Denny Hamlin goes on to win, Chris Buescher in second and Ty Gibbs in third. What a finish in the Irish Hills. And Denny Hamlin says it again, 11 versus the world. Congratulations to Joe Gibbs Racing. Predictions recap. ARCA went with Gio Ruggiero. He finishes 4th. Truck Series tapped Ross Chastain. He finishes 26th after getting caught in one of those overtime restarts after contending. Cup Series picked Denny Hamlin. He brings home the trophy after winning in Michigan. And now for our yellow flag, green flag segment. Green, ARCA, Brandon Butterbean Queen gets his 3rd win of the year, putting him back atop of the ARCA standings. Truck Series, yellow, Gio Ruggiero, the rookie had a learning lesson on one of the restarts in the 3rd stage. He would be on the front row and trigger the wreck that would collect 9 others. Green, Truck Series, Stuart Friesen. We talked about him on this segment on the yellow flag with his bad luck earlier this season. He fights through the triple overtime finish to lock himself into the playoffs with that win. Cup Series yellow, 3 poles in a row, including Michigan, with nothing to show for it. Chase Briscoe finishes 23rd. Cup green flag, I know he wanted the win, but a P3 finish for Ty Gibbs. What will Ty do next? Now for this episode's edition of Discussions with Dave. Ram back into NASCAR. It was announced Sunday in Michigan, Ram will join the field for the 2026 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, ending a 13-year break for them in the sport. They would unveil their new Ram 1500 concept race truck that previews the design for the one being raced next year. Returning to the racetrack marks a major milestone for Ram, as it marks the start of 25 product announcements in the next 18 months. Can't wait to see what they roll out. The news of Ram's return to NASCAR was announced by CEO of the Ram brand, Tim Koneskis. He would go on to say, "For more than a decade, customers and our dealer network asked about getting back into NASCAR. The desire was always there, but we didn't have a plan that delivered. The last 10th and following just didn't fit our DNA. Now we have a solid plan that will set us apart from the field and will bring fresh new interest and engagement to America's sport." A part of this announcement, Ram celebrates the return of the historic Hemi V8. Can't wait to see the Ram Hemis on track next year at the Truck Series. Will be great to add a 4th manufacturer there. Ram is planning to have 4 to 6 trucks race in that first race of the season at Daytona in February. We'll keep you posted throughout this season and through this upcoming silly season during the off season on what teams are going to be switching to Ram. Next topic on Discussions with Dave: does Carson Hocevar care about wrecking drivers? Watching the pre-race show on Amazon Prime, Carl Edwards phrased this question to Dale Jr. Do you think Carson Hocevar cares about wrecking drivers? Specifically Ricky Stenhouse Jr. the week before. Both Edwards and Jr. agreed. They don't think he does. And I'm in the same boat as them. From some of Carson's dust-ups in the past in the Truck Series, we kind of get that same feeling. 2023 Truck Series Championship race in Phoenix, for example, Hocevar gets together with Corey Heim, wrecking himself and Heim out of that race, which would end each of their chances at winning a championship that night. We talked about Heim's reaction to Hocevar when he won the Truck Series race this year at Texas. Seems like Carson can get over these incidents quickly when they benefit him. That example, plus Stenhouse incident 2 weeks ago. Ricky even said after talking to Carson, I understood that he thought he could make the pass on me. All in all, I do believe that Carson Hocevar is here to stay at the Cup level, and I don't think his aggressive style is going to change. At one point, sooner and later, and it could happen before the end of this season, someone is going to give it right back to him. It's only a matter of time, but that's what makes racing exciting. You never know what's going to happen. Carson, as we said last week, is a feather ruffler. But more and more people are putting eyes on that young driver. Think he can be great for the sport. Next topic on Discussions with Dave. Still talking about the same driver, Carson Hocevar to Hendrick? There has been a lot of rumors about that, and when I first heard these rumors, I didn't believe them at all. More and more media sources are relaying this story as well. Yes, Spire Motorsports does have a partnership with Hendrick Motorsports. One of Spire's Truck Series drivers, Raja Karuth, is sponsored by Hendrick. It seems like already the two teams do have a strong relationship. With the uncertainty of Alex Bowman, could Hocevar take his spot sometime in the future? The more and more I think about it and listen to others talk on this topic, I think that's going to happen. Yes, Alex Bowman did silence some doubters with his win at the Chicago Street Course last year. A tough, hard wreck in Michigan, not to his doing, but finishes at the rear, does not help him in the point standings. And yes, with Hocevar's recent success at the Cup level, the last handful of races, his stock is getting higher and higher. But the body of work that he has put together last year into this year, building race after race, it does look like the young Michigan driver is putting together an equation for success at the Cup level. Can't wait to see how the next couple years plays out for Carson. Moving right along in Discussions with Dave, next topic, NASCAR out of the U.S. going down to Mexico. Xfinity and Cup Series head south of the border to race at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City. Really intrigued to see the TV numbers for the Xfinity race on CW and the Cup race on Amazon Prime. Want to see how many people are tuning in to NASCAR's first Cup Series race in Mexico. When NASCAR goes to new locations, there's always some nervousness. Will the fans come out? I think they will for Mexico City for this one. It's a world-class track. F1 has raced here before. Xfinity was last here in 2008. And of course, we can't forget the 99, NASCAR's only Mexican-born driver currently, Daniel Suarez. Believe the hometown crowd will come out in droves to root on their amigo Daniel. Last topic on Discussions with Dave, road course ringers ready to upset the playoff standings. We will talk more about him later in the show, but the 88 of Shane Van Gisbergen, 33rd in the standings currently, We know what he can do on a road course. Sometimes the guy is just unstoppable. SVG is still getting his feet under him in regards to the oval racing. If Shane doesn't win in Mexico, he will have 3 more chances on road and street courses before the regular season ends. As I said in the preseason, I think it's only a matter of time before SVG strikes a win at the Cup level this year. Next 2 drivers, they're neck and neck in points, 23rd and 24th, Michael McDowell and Ty Gibbs. McDowell has won a road course at the Cup level before at the Indy road course. Ty Gibbs got his first Xfinity start and win in the same race at the Daytona road course. Think the best storyline of the weekend could lead into an upset on the standings if the 99 of Daniel Suarez, who has won at the road course in Sonoma previously, his first win. If Suarez can get it done on home soil, he's 28th in the standings right now. That would be an upset as well. This wraps up this week's edition of Discussions with Dave. This now brings us to our second guest of the show, AJ Allmendinger. Super excited to interview a full-time Cup driver and get his insight. Had a great conversation with AJ. Here it is. Our next guest on the show is driver of the 16 in the NASCAR Cup Series, AJ Allmendinger. Greatly appreciate your time. Congratulations on your induction to the West Coast Stock Car Motorsports Hall of Fame earlier this year. Welcome to Splash of Gas. Thank you for joining, AJ.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. Before we dive into the on-track action, you've been with Kaulig Racing since 2019. The energy you bring to the track alone, paired with Matt Kaulig and, of course, Chris Rice, is unmatched. What is it like being a part of Kaulig, and how have you grown as a driver since starting out with them?
Yeah, I mean, this has been a partnership that I feel like, when we first started, I didn't expect anything from it. I don't know if I actually wanted anything from it besides just to help them out and run a few road course races and really doing the super speedway races because Matt loves super speedway so much. So to go from 2019 of just doing a couple of races to where we are now has been special. I feel like we've accomplished a lot together. I've gotten to do things in my career that, after 2018, I felt like probably was never going to happen. So just to be able to do all these things and keep building, 7 years to see where it started to kind of where we're at now and knowing the ultimate goals that we still have to keep making it grow. But more than anything, the friendship that I've gotten with Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice especially has meant a lot to me. They, at the end of the day, sure, they're my bosses, but they just make me feel like part of the family and that this is my race team. And, and I continually say that I'll do whatever they want me to do and drive whatever series they want me to drive in and just things of that nature. So it's been fantastic. I feel like we still have a lot of goals that we want to make happen. This season's been a little up and down, but I feel like the speed that we've shown compared to even just where we were last year on the Cup side of it has been great. And, we have an opportunity to keep pushing ahead. We got some good races coming up. So, it's been great. And I've been very fortunate to, really have this part of my life be with them. And as I say, I'll finish my career with them.
Awesome. Thank you for touching on that. Just like you were saying, getting into this season, so far you have 4 top 10s, all those coming on ovals. Had your best finish of the season so far at the longest race of the year, coming in 4th at the Coke 600 3 races ago. Seemed like you had a strong car all night. We know the attrition that race can bring. What did that finish mean to you, and how close do you feel to getting a victory on an oval at the Cup level?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think what I try to look at with our race team, the ultimate goal is to always show up and win, right? Like if you don't show up to win, then you shouldn't be there. But with that said, we got to have realistic goals, and there's certain weekends that, a 15th place finish or a 20th place finish, that's good. Like that's all we had, and we maximized it. I feel like the last couple of weekends Nashville and Michigan, like those aren't finishes that you're overly pumped about, but I feel like we maximized those races and got the best result possible. And Charlotte was a weekend that was much needed. We'd had a couple of tough weeks where, we blew up at Kansas early in the race and finished last. In Texas, we were actually having a good race, got crashed. So it was a much needed weekend. And, those are weekends that when you unload and you're fast and you qualify well and you have a strong race car during the race, you got to execute. And I felt like we did that during the Coke 600. I thought there was an outside chance maybe we could win the race, but ultimately we ran kind of top 5, top 6 all day and finished 4th. And and those are good nights that we can have, and you got to be happy with, and you move forward with and build on. So, how close are we to win on ovals? I think when we're at our best and we're executing and we have good speed in the race car, I would say, we're fairly close. And then there's other weekends where you kind of leave the racetrack and you feel like, you're a good bit ways away. So, but that's what you're going to do as a young team that's trying to build in the Cup Series. It's hard. And as we see, there's not a lot of guys out there winning races. So, I kind of try to take it all with stride. I'm probably not the best of letting bad weekends go, but I feel like we're moving in the right direction, and that's all we can kind of, look at and keep going with.
For sure. Control what you can control. Any specific oval track you think your team the best chance to win? We know you've been fast at Vegas in the Xfinity car.
Yeah, that's another good question. I mean, if I had to choose, I would say the 1.5 mile racetracks for sure. That's been our strength at Kaulig Racing, kind of with this car in general, and then this year for sure we've shown that. So going back to Vegas, a place like that, it would stand out to me. But I don't think there's a oval track that we circle on the calendar and go, oh, this is the one that if we're going to win an oval, this is the one we have. We're going to do it at. I think every weekend's a learning experience, and there's weekends that we unload and we got a lot of speed and maybe have an opportunity to do it. So, but yeah, the short tracks that have, for whatever reason, been a struggle for us. We just haven't quite hit on anything that gives us a lot of speed. So, yeah, I mean, the 1.5 miles, the super speedways are always an opportunity, but yeah, the 1.5 mile racetrack is probably where we shine right now.
Cool. Appreciate you going over that. Diving into this past weekend at the Fast 2 Mile of Michigan, you were 24th fastest in practice. You qualified 19th. How was the car feeling going into the green flag?
Yeah, I mean, we just we didn't. I was hoping probably for a little bit more, quite honestly, just speed-wise, just knowing that the bigger racetracks have been where we've been strong at. But we never really had a ton of speed. The balance wasn't ever that bad during the weekend, but just never had a lot of raw speed. And, we kind of – I think we, really the last run of the race, we got as high as 13th, and that was kind of as high as we've been all weekend. So with that said, we maximized it, right? To finish 17th, we were a little unfortunate. We had to save fuel kind of last 10, 15 laps of the race. So we lost a couple of spots just knowing that, and I literally ran out off of turn 4 and had to coast to the line. So, we probably could have finished 13th or 14th if we didn't have to save quite as much fuel. But, yeah, we got everything we could out of it. And I wouldn't say disappointed, but I was hoping for a little bit more speed during the weekend. But, that, like I said, sometimes you don't hit it, and that's what you got. So, we got what we could.
Gotcha. Weren't the only one trying to save fuel at the end. Appreciate you going over that.
Yeah, it was a tough. It seems like, I don't know. There's racetracks. It just seems like the caution always falls like right on the edge of it. Michigan is just one of those racetracks. I've had to save fuel more at Michigan than probably any other racetrack in my life. So it's just the way it goes.
Gotcha. It's been 13 races since the last road course at COTA. Unfortunately, that didn't end the way you wanted. It's no secret of your success on road courses and at the Cup level with them. Is there any pressure, and how do you feel going to the road course at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez in Mexico City?
Yeah, I mean, it's the pressure's just internal for me. It's not the outside world. It's of course every road course that we go to, I got to talk about opportunity winning, things like that. But the Cup Series is so challenging now, and it's not like in the past of 10 years ago where you kind of picked 8 or 10 guys and you're like, those are the ones you got to race, and if we just don't mess up, we're going to run top 5, top 6. It's not like that anymore. You have to be on your game just to run top 15, top 20 on the road courses now. So I know that if we go there and we're at our best, sure, we'll have a shot to win, but it's not easy. So I look at the road courses still. Those are weekends that we got to go maximize points, right? Like we need to run kind of top 6 to top 8 all weekend. And if we don't have an opportunity to win, just get the best result possible and try to run inside that top 5, top 6. COTA was difficult because we maybe had we were probably should have never finished worse than 4th and maybe had a shot to win, and then we kind of just had an issue on the last run and finished 30th, and those we just can't do that, right? Like when there's things that are in our control and we don't do a good job of it, we just finished in 30th at COTA. That was a big points loss to us. So but yeah, it's more internal. I wouldn't say people always ask, are you excited to show up to the road course? I say probably least excited to show up for the road courses just because of the pressure I put on myself.
Interesting. Appreciate that insight. Sure, you've been practicing on the sim for this race. This is the first time the Cup Series has raced at that circuit, and the first time Xfinity has raced there since 2008, but on a slightly different layout. As a fan, looks like turn 3 and 4 will be a big braking zone. Then think turn 14 through 16 will be close quarters. Expectations on the circuit, and what turns are you specifically looking out for as a driver?
Well, I feel like as we've shown in the Cup Series, you can make any corner a passing opportunity. So, I never really pinpoint corners of like, hey, these are the passing zones. Now, I do look at certain aspects of the racetrack of like, hey, these are the areas that we need to be good in for speed, especially like qualifying, things like that. I do think the restarts just, because the last time NASCAR Xfinity was there, everything was single file restarts. So everything being double file, I think the down into turn 1 is going to be interesting. The restart zone, because of where they move it now, I think the restart zones, just before the last corner. So that's going to cause a little bit of chaos as well. But yeah, you go there and we'll kind of get a feel for it in practice. The preparation's been no different than any other racetrack we go to. A lot of sim work and just trying to guesstimate and have the best what you think the setup is going to be. So it's I think it's going to be enjoyable. The track is going to be fun to drive on. The high altitude, it's a lot less downforce, a lot less kind of horsepower. So I feel like getting your setup is even more critical than another road course that we go to. But it's the same for everybody. And, I try to make no judgments really before I get there because you can do sim work, but it's close to realism, but it's not realistic until you get on the racetrack and kind of feel it out.
Gotcha. Didn't even think about the elevation, but that's an interesting point you make. Last question. There are 11 races left to the regular season. 4 of those races are on road and street courses. You currently sit 19th in the standings. How confident do you feel that you will get into one of the 16 in the playoffs?
The funny thing is I don't, besides having to talk about it, I feel like every weekend, and which is a good thing. It means we are in the hunt for a playoff spot, but I don't actually look at the playoffs or the points of them is being real important right now. Sure, the end game to make the playoffs is huge for an organization on the sponsor side of it, money side of it, just personnel side of it, of confidence with the race team. But I just keep looking at, if we keep getting better, the points will take care of themselves. And if you guys get, guys that are lower in points that win a race and that takes a spot away, then so be it. And you have to kind of move forward. So the playoffs are kind of not really on my mind until I have to talk about them. It's just about trying to run better and keep getting us better and more competitive. And I truly feel like if we do that, we have a shot to make the playoffs. But, if we don't, then we don't belong there. So, it's about just getting better every weekend. And if we do that, then if we make the playoffs, great. And if we don't, then we don't.
Got it. Appreciate you touching on that. Seems like you are super focused. Appreciate your time again, AJ. Best of luck this weekend. Hope to have you on the show for the end of this season. It was great talking to you. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Have a good one. What a blast talking to AJ. Super thankful for him and his team giving me the time. This interview is exclusive to Splash of Gas. Moving right along to NASCAR history time, Mexico. Stock car racing in the Xfinity Series has been held at the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez road course in Mexico City from 05 to 08 and starting again back this year. Much attention has been directed towards this race as it is the first NASCAR points-paying race outside the U.S. since 1958. The only recent international racing for NASCAR was in Japan, but those races were non-points-paying exhibition. The Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez track is a very popular circuit for open-wheeled racing such as Formula One and Champ Car. However, some adjustments were necessary to adapt the course for stock cars. The most significant alteration involved the introduction of a chicane on the pit straight. Additionally, a link was incorporated to bypass Curva Hector Raquet, instead integrating a sweeping curve between the track's short circuit curve and Ese del Lago. This modification was prompted of the intensified braking demands of the heavier stock car. In the farewell running of the Mexico City race, until this past weekend, the race was renamed the Corona Mexico 200. Kyle Busch passed Scott Pruitt with 7 laps to go and went on to win that race. Trying to get the Spanish pronunciations the best I can. Apologize if I mispronounced anything. Drivers to look out for ARCA at Berlin Raceway. While Xfinity and Cup Series will be in Mexico, ARCA will be at the short track of Berlin Raceway in Minnesota. Here are the drivers to look out for. He has 3 wins this year at all tracks bigger than half a mile, but don't let that fool you. Brandon Butterbean Queen is a short track legend. He will be a contender. She's been bit by bad luck this year, but got a 9th place finish last week, and going to a short track, I think that's what she needs. Look out for Isabella Robusto. Another Venturini car to look out for will be Lawless Allen. 1 win already and P3 in Michigan. Second in the point standings and always consistent is LeVar Scott. Can he get up to the top 3 to possibly contend for a win? Drivers to look out for, Mexico, Xfinity. Xfinity will be back in action after an off week. This will be the first road course race since March at COTA. NASCAR will allow 40 cars in this race. Should be a good one. First guy we will talk about is the guy that won the Xfinity COTA race. The road course whiz kid himself, Connor Zilisch. Sam Mayer in the 41 Haas factory machine should be contending again. He's won road courses before at the Xfinity level. Young gun Jesse Love finished 6th in COTA, and his teammate Austin Hill was 4th. Look out for both of those RCR Xfinity drivers. 16 of Christian Eckes was P5 in COTA, finished 9th in Charlotte. Can he keep the momentum going? Full-time Cup drivers of Daniel Suarez, Ty Gibbs, Christopher Bell will be in Xfinity seats in Mexico. The hometown crowd will be ready to cheer for Daniel for both days. Now, the drivers to look out for Mexico Cup Series. As mentioned, this is the first road course race since March 2nd. With this being in Mexico, we just talked about him and the Xfinity drivers to look out for. Daniel Suarez is the only Mexican-born driver in the Cup Series. He won his first Cup Series race at the road course in Sonoma. He will be for sure a contender with the hometown fans cheering him on. Shane Van Gisbergen in his rookie Cup Series year is happy for a road course after 13 oval races in a row. He will be contending. We just had him on this episode, the road course ringer, the Dinger. AJ Allmendinger, back full-time in the Cup Series this year. He will be up there at the end. Christopher Bell won in COTA, but don't count out his Toyota teammate Tyler Reddick, who was third in COTA. William Byron and Chase Elliott from Hendrick Motorsports always seem to be up front at the road courses as well. Those are the Cup Series drivers to look out for in Mexico. Now for Fast Davies bets. Xfinity. Not all bets for the Xfinity Series in the major sports books are up right now, but take Sam Mayer getting a top 3. Cup, Chris Buescher, top 3 is plus 450. He should be fast again this weekend. Now for trivia answer time. This week's question is, who won the first NASCAR Cup Series race at Michigan International Speedway in June of 1969? The answer is Hall of Famer Cal Yarborough. Now for our predictions. ARCA. It's a short track. ARCA Series. Give me Brandon Butterbean Queen going back to back. Now, Mexico. Xfinity. Fans will be cheering on Daniel Suarez all weekend. And I think him driving the 9 Xfinity car Saturday will be the best chance he has to win during the weekend. But in the end, I think it's going to be Ty Gibbs back in the Xfinity seat. We know what he can do on road courses at the Xfinity level. Cup Series, he may be the betting favorite, but he's also 33rd in the point standings. Learning oval racing in NASCAR, what happened when NASCAR went to the street course of Chicago for the first time? He won. Give me Shane Van Gisbergen to win in Mexico. As always, we're sponsored by Magical Travel with Dave, aka Disney Dave Weichert, my father. He will be able to help you with all your Disney and Universal vacation needs. He can be reached at DisneyDaveW@Verizon.net. Please make sure you follow all the Splash of Gas social medias for midweek updates. Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube are all Splash of Gas with Dave Weichert. Really appreciate everyone tuning in and those awesome interviews we had with AJ Allmendinger and Dawson Sutton. Hope everyone has a great weekend and gets a chance to watch the racing. Till next time, everybody, Splash of Gas out.